I'm about to pull back the curtain on my Adobe Premiere Pro timeline and show you how I built this video recap for Nova Autumn Clash, which is a swimming competition. And no, this isn't gonna be the usual, here's how I made this transition look cool kind of thing, because to be honest, I don't really care about that. What I want to show you is how I built the story, why I chose this clip over this clip, the music, the sound design, you know, the stuff that actually matters. Because look, a video needs to hit you in your chest. It needs to make you feel something. If all you've got is a bunch of flashy effects strung together, then congrats, you've got a screensaver. Probably a pretty cool screensaver, but it's still a screensaver. But here's the thing that's gonna surprise you. The reason why I think this edit works has nothing to do with the clips that I used in it. It starts with the one thing that most editors usually leave until the very end. But before I get into that, let's actually play the clip to see what we're working with. And fair warning, it is 2 minutes long, but I left timestamps in the descriptions if you wanna just skip ahead. So let's roll the video. Alrighty then, so we're now in Premiere Pro and this is what my timeline looks like. So if I just maximize this, you'll get to see everything that's going on. Now obviously a bunch of stuff happening on the video side, but even more stuff, well at least in the beginning, happening on the audio side. So let's take them one by one. And the first one, on track 1, what you'll notice, there are a whole bunch of clips, but they are also color-coded. And I do that because I want to have a visual representation of what is going on in my timeline. And the way that I color coded these ones, let me go back. You see these iris ones, because this is what this label is called, iris. These are your standard shots with the swimmers, with all the kids swimming and doing their race. The red ones, these are reaction shots, and they're mainly from the parents. We have the yellow/gold ones, and this is from the premiere. So when the kids get up on the podium, they get their diplomas and their medals. And we also have the blue ones, and these are what I call action shots. These are shots that I got with the kids while they were swimming. There are only a few, just like 2 or 3 of these shots in the entire piece. And this is something that I highly recommend you guys do as well. Color code your footage. 1, it's easier to find, and 2, you get a visual representation of what is going on in your video. And as you can see, we have a whole bunch of shots going all the way up to this point, almost exclusively of the swimmers. Then we have reaction shots, then we have the premieres, another reaction shot, and then we do again kids, swimming, reaction shots, and the final premieres. And I structured it this way because, and this is what I teased in the intro, I structured it because of the music. This A9, this is my music track. Now, obviously, it's not a just slap on a song and be done with it, but the music is really important for me, and I highly suggest that you guys start off with the music in mind, even if you haven't chosen a specific song, at least get the type of song that you hear in your head. So if you want like a mellow song, go with that, and then the editing will have to follow suit. If you have like a really dynamic song, kind of like what I have here, even though it's more cinematic in the sense that it goes really up, it rises, a whole bunch of tension, then we have the release, then it's mellow again, and then it starts to rise all the way up to the very end. Do not neglect your song choices. Spend as much time in selecting the right song or songs as much as you do editing the rest of the video, because music and sound design will elevate the entire piece tenfold. That's my opinion. If you do it differently, that's good for you, and if it works, totally fine, but this is the way I do it. And I chose this particular song for its more cinematic qualities, if you will. So once I had my song, the next step would be to make all of the selects and then start to think about what the storyline actually is. So I'm gonna go one by one, video by video, talk about what we have in the adjustment layers, why I chose these specific shots, and we're gonna talk about the sound design at the very same time. So let's start off. I'm gonna zoom in here. Let's start off with my main, well, not the main shot, but the very first shot. And this is a shot of one of the banners there, and this is Nova's slogan. Fiecare copil este o supernova în devenire, which translates to every kid is a supernova. Well, every kid can become a supernova. And I'm just gonna mute the audio a little bit so it doesn't come through. Okay. And it's a simple shot with a few effects on it. Let me go just straight here. Now, this is a 1080p timeline, but I usually film in 4K just to have that extra bit of reach if I need to reframe or digitally zoom in on stuff or out in post-production. So for this one, I have it at 72%. I keep it at 72% because I wanted everything to be in the middle. And if you watched the video and you noticed, I mainly keep my main subjects in the middle. Why do I do that? That's because the pacing and the flow of the entire video is fairly quick. A lot of videos and a lot of cuts, especially you see in this one, a whole bunch of videos and they're only on screen for like 3 or 4 frames. And I keep everything in the middle so that the viewer doesn't have to put in the extra work of figuring out, okay, where's the subject? Where do I need to look? Since everything is in the middle, they look in the middle and that's it. We don't want our audience to do any extra work, no more than necessary at least. In terms of the shot itself, it's nothing too crazy. It's just a banner and some text. But I wanted to start on this text just to set the tone for everything that was going to happen afterwards. And what better way than the tagline? Every kid is a supernova, or can become a supernova, because this is what the competition is all about. Getting their kids to their absolute best at their specific ages, because if you've noticed from the video, it starts for like 4 or 5 years old all the way up to 10. So they're really small. This isn't a pro competition. It's more for amateurs, just to get the experience. And this lends itself to the music as well, because the very beginning of the song is very chill. We want to build anticipation, or at least that's what I wanted to build in the beginning of the video. Let's talk about what I have here in terms of adjustment layers. This is your LUT. So if I go into creative, I have a LUT that I applied here. It's called Tweed 71. Everything was shot in Vlog. I added some vibrance just to get a bit more color, messed around with the highlights, messed around with the whites and the blacks, just to get everything, get the exposure somewhere where I thought it should be. And other than that, have I played with the curves, toned down the saturation of the reds because they were a bit too hot, messed around with the color wheels, midtones a little bit down. So this is the adjustment layer. This is just basically my color grade. And the top adjustment layer, what I like to do, especially for YouTube, is bump up the contrast by 20 and also bump up the sharpness, because with YouTube's compression, it's not going to be the exact same. So that's why I add, and I add this adjustment layer to mainly all of my videos that I post on YouTube, including this one that you're watching right now. This other adjustment layer is this effect right here. When I started to edit this video, I knew that I wanted, Adobe just released the new Film Impact dashboard and all of the effects. So I knew I wanted to try those out and see what I can actually get with them. And the first one, the one that I tried on this shot was the volumetric ray effects. And you see here I have keyframes, they ramp up from 0 all the way to 100%. Now, granted, this effect, the way it looks, it is a bit cheesy. It's a bit too much. You probably wouldn't do this in any other video. But for this video, especially considering that the video is for kids and their parents, I think it works. And it's a nice way to highlight the tagline as well and give it an extra oomph to tell people, to tell the audience that are watching the video, this is what this is all about. So this is it, just the effect, a little bit of movement. Obviously there's some warp stabilizer on the clip itself, and I also have another Lumetri color to bump up the brightness, the vibrance even more, because the colors on the banner here weren't as punchy as I would have liked. So this is how we start. We start out with this, and then we go in a few shots just to build that anticipation. And if I unmute this and listen to it, they go hand in hand with the song. We're just building anticipation for things to come. Everything is chill. It's a whole bunch of expectancy here. So let's play it again. And up until this point where the music starts to ramp up. So we have the intro, we have a bunch of shots. These are the referees, they're getting ready. We have shots of the kids waiting, and you can actually see here the way that I mounted the GoPro, and also shots of the parents, because from my experience in these types of competitions, the parents are way more nervous than the kids are. So it was important for me to get a shot of them just waiting, you know, just being anxious for their kids. And in terms of sound design, what I have here, I have this part. This is a shimmer, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, crystal glass. And this is strictly for this part when the shimmer, not the shimmer, what's it called? The volumetric rays turn on. You can hear there's a light ding. Yeah. And we also have, just let me pull this up. We also have some wet power up swoosh. So I'm gonna just solo this one. Again, for the light rays. It's always a good idea to layer your sound design. The more layers you have, the fuller the sound. And this one, this is just an exterior. So if you hear, this is just crowd, because it felt a bit empty when I'm showing people. People talking, just the hustle and bustle of the place. And this one, this should be into the deep. This is just to add a little bit more atmosphere. It's low rumble, but it also rises all the way up until this song actually starts and we're really off to the races. So this is the place where the music starts to ramp up. And it's fitting, I chose this shot. This is Christy. He's the organizer, the owner of Nova. He's the one that usually gives a speech at the beginning of every competition. And this one was no different. So you have him walking towards the podium. The podium is here on the right-hand side, and this is where the microphone is at as well. And I really like the framing of this shot because I kept the banner in shot, and you see him walking. He's actually looking towards the banner a little bit. So this was a pretty cool shot, at least in my opinion. And we're building up. So we have Christy. He's giving the speech. And this, a whole bunch of shots. So we have Christy, he's giving the speech. Another shot with all of the parents, because that's important, because he's giving the speech for their benefit, not for his or for the kids, because to be honest, they're not listening to anything. So it's mainly for the parents. And then, let me just mute this. And then we start ramping up with a succession of, and you can see here, shots that are less and less frames. So we have more shots up until the crescendo. And this part, it's mainly shots of the kids. Again, they're waiting, close up of the kids. They're here with the organizers. They're listening to the rules. Kids waiting to jump into the pool. And now we have a quick match cut. At least that's what I tried to do, with the logo of Nova. So we have 1, 2, 3 match cuts. And kind of 4 here with the, this is the trophy. This one doesn't really match with the other ones, but it's only on screen for 1, 2, 3, 3 frames. And again, some shots with the kids in anticipation. And now the kids are already on the, what do you call it, these? They get up on these and they jump in the water. I forgot. I don't know, they're not podiums. Someone in the comments, just let me know what these are called. And again, with the kids, waiting. And this is what it's all about. These are the trophies that they're gonna get in the end. And I have an adjustment layer with an effect on it. It's the glint effect, just to make them pop a little bit more. And boom, zoom in. And this is actually manually done by using a transform with a zoom in. And another Lumetri color just to get the colors right. And I have an echo glow effects that you'll see right here when the music will hit. So let me just unmute and play that. Boom. See here? The glint effects is right here when we have the impact. So let's look at that again. Boom. Okay, so why did I do it this way? The music is starting to swell. So if I just solo the music and listen to this part, see, it starts to ramp up and build. And you see here that I actually cut the song at the hit, because I wanted it in a specific place. Usually the song would last for a little bit longer and then the hit, but I wanted the hit right now, right after the crescendo. So let's listen to it again. And I also have a bass drop, which I assume is this one. No, this is actually a riser, which is an impact that I reversed. See, it's reverse speed here. Oh no, the bass drop is actually from the song. I didn't add it in post. Boom. So that's what I wanted. So in terms of sound design, I have a riser and I have another riser. If I just solo these. Bam. And that's the hit that follows the riser. And the exact same thing with another one on top. An even bigger impact, which is lower in terms of frequency than this one. When you add a stack sound design over sound design over sound design, make sure that they are in different frequencies. You don't want all of the sound design to be at the same exact frequency. You want some lower, some mids, and some highs to get that fuller sound. And again, in terms of the video, it's just a succession of quick cuts, about 3 to 4 frames each, up until we get to this point where we have the zoom in and the glint effect right when we have the impact hit. Boom, and that's where the competition begins. So we had all of that anticipation up until this point, the music swell, and now bam, the competition has started, and let's get into it. So if we listen now, so what we have here, we have, let me mute this again. We have the kid, we hear the whistle, the competition has officially started, and this race has officially started. So we have this kid jumping into the pool, and I have another zoom in effect, digital zoom in effect on him. Now we're starting to get into the meat of it, and we need more shots that are dynamic, more effects that are dynamic to go along with the music and the sound design. So you have this kid, and we have this action shot that I called it, with the GoPro footage, again with him jumping straight into the pool. And now we have another quick succession of shots of other kids jumping straight in with zoom effects, well, digital zoom effects, so not necessarily on this one, and this is a zoom effect, another zoom effect. And the thing is, I went for digital zooms mainly because I couldn't do that in camera, but also to emphasize the fact that everything is dynamic, we're off to the races, and getting that motion blur by using the transform effect puts an extra emphasis on that dynamic aspect of the shot and everything that's going on. Bam, 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 a whole bunch of shots of kids swimming in the pool. And in terms of the sound design, we have, again, when the competition starts, we have 2 hits. Okay, so this one, bam, that's a hit. Solo the other one, bam, that's a hit, but it's a higher pitched hit. Again, when layering sounds, make sure that they are in different frequencies. I have a bass sub wub, whatever that is. Let me just solo this one. Yeah, this is mainly a bass drop. And let's see what else. And these are whooshes, and this is for when the kids jump in the pool. Another one. And as you can see, I didn't put a whoosh at the beginning of every single clip because it would have sounded awkward. I skipped one clip, and this is important. You don't actually need to follow the exact clips or the action that's happening on screen. Use your ears, use your better judgment, and add sound effects, and just listen to the sound effects to make sure that they are properly heard and not muffled by other sound effects. So don't overdo it. Whooshes, whooshes, and we have water splashes, and this is for when the kids actually jump in the pool. So let's listen to that. Okay, and that's the camera flash. So this is it for this section. This is mainly, okay, we got the thing started. The competition has officially started. Kids eagerly jumped into the water, and now they're giving their best to actually win their race. And to bookend this section and move on to the next part, I added this flash effect. And what this is, just an adjustment layer with a brightness and contrast and an invert effect set to luminance. And it's on screen. Well, the brightness is keyframed. So it's 1, 2, 3. It's at its peak, and another 1, 2, and it's gone. And this was simply just to add a little bit of visual interest, and again to bookend that previous section and move on to the next. And what I chose here is to get a shot of the crowd. You see all of the parents, they're lined up here at the edge, and they're not in the stands. They're at the edge of their seats, filming and cheering and, having a good time with their kids. Probably the kids were having a good time. The parents were pretty anxious, but you get the idea. And now these are just some reaction shots of the crowd and the kids supporting each other and cheering each other on. What happened? Come on, Premiere. So we have 1, 2, just 2 reaction shots, and then we're just filming the kids while they're swimming. And this is pretty straightforward. There's nothing much to talk about here. You have to show the kids actually swimming. But we have another flash transition here. Now with brightness and contrast invert, but this time with quadrature chrominance. My God, say that 3 times fast. And also an RGB split effect. And this is the RGB, and it's pretty pronounced. Again, keyframed all the way to 100% from 0 and then down back to 0. And I added this just again to add a bit of visual interest because we're already in 1, 2, 3 clips in of kids swimming, actually 2. And I want to have this transition because this clip, what they're doing, it's a bit more chill. It's only legs, but this clip, they're going full throttle, crawl all the way to the very end there. So they're using legs and hands as well. Bam. So it's just a transition between the two different types of swimming styles. In terms of the sound design for this part, all I have again is a couple of risers all the way up to these action shots filmed on the GoPro. And we have this, the crowd's cheering obviously for this part of the clip with the crowd here. Actually, if I just solo this one, just some crowd noises that fade away once I switch to this clip. We have these two risers, and I use them because I'm building towards something different. So we had some pretty standard shots of kids, right? Just swimming, swimming, swimming. But now we're building towards this part, and these are the action shots, and they're different to everything that we've seen so far. So that's why I want to ramp up to them, build some anticipation, and then hit them with some quick succession of action shots. So if I listen to it again, and again, just a couple of risers, and that's pretty much it. And the song does a lot of the heavy lifting as well, because if you just listen to the song, it ramps up as well. Bam! How cool is that? It's stuff like this little thing, just timing everything to the music, that really elevates the edit, at least in my opinion. Right, so for these action shots, they're barely on screen for 1, 2, 3 frames each, with the exception of the last one, which takes a little bit longer just so the viewer can take in what they're actually seeing on screen. And the effect that I have on these, if I show you, I have another adjustment layer with an RGB split and a focus blur effect that's keyframe from 100% all the way down to 0. And we have the kids, bam, 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 and down. If you look at the blur and the RGB split, it goes all the way down to 0. Now you can see the entire frame as it was shot. And again, this is just to give that extra bit of oomph to these shots here. Bam, bam, bam. Now, what I want to do here, because I had this quick succession of action shots, I wanted to slow down a little bit and just focus on the kids either getting themselves ready to go in the pool or coming out of the pool. So that's what this section here is. If I go one by one, kids getting ready. And again, I used an adjustment layer with an RGB split and a focus blur just to get the attention strictly on the kids and not anything else. So you have kid getting out of the pool, another kid getting out of the pool, kid again, and another transition. Again, this is an invert and a brightness, another flash to move on to the next part with the next round of kids jumping into the pool and doing their race. In terms of sound design here, we have obviously this is the flash from the camera flash and ambiance. Again, if I can just show you this one, just underwater water sounds. Underwater water sounds, you get the idea. And the second one, this one is, I have no idea what that is. Let's listen to it. Underwater water sounds. Because, why? They're in the water. Okay, so once we transition out of this section of the kids close up, again, another flash, and we're swimming. And these are a bit more dynamic. Somewhat, this one. Okay, this is another section. So we went for more somewhat static shots from the kids getting their close up to kids again being more dynamic, swimming. This is a bit more of a dynamic shot with an actual manual zoom in. They're swimming, they're putting a lot of effort, he's swimming, bam, bam, bam. And we're now going into, if I zoom out here on the timeline, this part. And if you remember, the red is the reaction shots and the gold and the yellow is the premiere. So we're building towards the first premiere of the competition. So we have this shot of the kids closing in on the finish line. The next one is this particular kid again going towards the finish line, and we have this adjustment layer with brightness and contrast. This is going to be another flash and an RGB split and a focus blur, ramping up from 0% all the way up to 100, where we have the flash as well, and where we transition to the next clip, which is the kids reaching the finish line and getting out of the pool. So let's just listen to this part again and I'll explain a little bit more. Boom. And you see, I use this adjustment layer and these effects to really focus in on that kid almost being there at the finish line. We have the song swelling and building up here. As you can see, there isn't any risers. So I didn't use any riser because the song was doing all of the work. And we're building, we're creating all of this tension until the very end when the kids finally manage to reach the finish line. And what I'm gonna do now is just let that simmer. And this is where, again, the song helps, but also the sound design that I did here with the heartbeats. So I'm gonna play this part again and just listen. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit here. Tension, tension, quiet. Now the heartbeat starts to go faster and faster. And we have a riser because we're preparing for the premiere, the diplomas. Now, I don't know about you, but I love this part. We're racing, we're near the finish line, we made it, we're there, and then quiet, tension. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna get their diploma? Who's gonna get up on the podium? And I showed that through their parents because, again, the kids, they're in the thick of it. They're not really thinking about, okay, am I gonna win a medal or not? But the parents are, because the tension is higher when you're in a position of not being able to do anything. You're not able to help your kid swim faster. It's all up to him or her. So all of that pressure, you're internalizing it as a parent, and you're just sitting there waiting. Oh my God, did he win? What did he do? Especially, look at this guy here, this dad. He's literally biting his fingernails. So you're going from that. This mom, she's waiting. These parents are waiting. They don't know what's gonna happen. This kid, this is a great shot, even though the background isn't all that great, but this is a great shot of this kid. He got out of the pool and look at him, he's literally praying. That's probably not what he's doing, but it looks like he's praying, let me get a medal, or at least let me get a good time. So we're building all of this tension going. The other kids and these kids, they're waiting to see the results. And now we have this part where these two, they are coaches. They're literally telling the kids from their phone what's about to happen, who won and who hasn't. And then we're going to this part where the kid actually is going up to the podium. She's gonna get her diploma and the medal. Now, in terms of sound design, like I said, a whole bunch of stuff is going on. So let's listen to it again. I'll talk through it as it goes along. So let me just unmute it. Heartbeat, silence, getting a little bit of music. Everything is timed to the beat of the song. Going, still building that tension. And now we're gonna swell. We have a riser. Bam, hit. Everybody's happy. Some kids get their medals. They're getting their diplomas. And what I did here in terms of visual effects, again, we have a glint effects, keyframed, and it's at the maximum right here when she gets her diploma. So bam, a little bit of a flash here just to get the emphasis on the diplomas. And then while everything is going on, I have another adjustment layer with some light leaks. And you can see here on the sides, I'm getting ahead of myself, but Again, this is a little bit cheesy, but I wanted to emphasize like flashing lights, the spotlight is on the kids that actually won. But again, in terms of sound design, how I build this up, the song does most of the heavy lifting. I have this is the heartbeat, which is getting faster and faster, and we have the risers, the riser that hits bam when she gets her diploma. And this part right here, this is cheering. Yay, my kid won. Woo! And that's pretty much it. And this whole section is just kids getting their diplomas. This is the payoff to all of the tension and all of the buildup that I did so far. So let's just look at this part. The music is happy, it's cheerful. The kids won. Yay, them. And again, we're building. Huh? How about that? We have shots with the kids on the podium getting their diplomas. Look at the look at the smile on this kid. He was really cute. He came to the interview afterward and was smiling as well. So we're building with all of the kids getting their diplomas, and now the music is starting as well. We have another riser because we're building up to something else. And let's just listen to it again, because we have these 3 shots, and these are reaction shots with the parents, and these are important as well. And these are important because this is what it's all about. Yes, it's about the competition. Yes, maybe it's about the medals and the winning and whatnot, but it's the feeling of pride that the parents get once their kid actually manages not necessarily to win, but to finish that race. And in your videos and recaps, you want to emphasize that feeling of joy and pride that the parents and the kids have. And it's important to capture those moments with the kids and their parents. So this is what I did here. Shot. And we're going to end on this reaction shot. And actually, there's a digital zoom here. You see position and scale of the proud parents kissing their champion. And if you listen to the song, this is where the tension is at its maximum, but we also get that release with the bass drop. So let's just listen to this part again. Boom. Bam. And we have that moment of silence before we get into the thick of it again. We have that impact, the song starts to pick up again, and we're back with the action. Notice the difference between how this clip was shot, and yes, we have a digital zoom, but it's mainly static, and what happens afterwards. Boom, a whole bunch of action, dynamic, kids swimming, more effects. It's more dynamic, and it's building up again. Riser, bam, effects. We have an impact. See? So once we're done with the first part, and the first kids that swam got their prizes and they were up on the podium and they celebrated with their kids, now it's time to start everything all over again with a new batch of kids. New emotions, new effort put in by the kids, and again, more and more anxiety for the parents. And I wanted this part to be even more dynamic than the first part where we saw the kids swimming. So that's why you get to see here some speed ramps and some more effects transitions added between the clips. So this is a speed ramp with the kids cheering. They're cheering. This is definitely a speed ramp to this kid right here, and then the exact same kid, we have a transition, and now he's jumping into the pool, and everybody's swimming. They're swimming, and we have some zoom in transitions. I wanted to test out the new Film Impact dashboard effects. So this is a simple zoom blur impact. Zoom blur, and now some quick shots with the kids. Again, they're swimming, and they're reaching the finish line. Because after all of this section is over, we're gonna have some reaction shots again, and we're gonna have the premieres again. Now, in terms of sound design, again, we have some whooshes, we have the camera shutter, we have some risers. This is the part with splashes when kids are jumping into the pool. Again, some whooshes, If we were just to listen to this without the music, this is what that will sound like. So again, this is where the bass drop is, the silence, and there we're getting into the more dynamic part of the song again. Cheering, cheering, cheering. Whoosh, bam, water, whooshes. With that underwater water sound. Camera flash, water sounds. And that's pretty much it. We're again, bam, moving towards the later end, like the final part of the video with the reaction shots. And obviously, again, we have the crowd reaction and the applauses. And this time, the volume of the sound is actually louder than the volume of the exact same sound that I used previously. Yay! Everyone's applauding. Parents are happy. Look at their happy smiles. Nice little sign that these guys brought. Everybody's cheering. And then we're moving on to the premiere. And again, this part of the song, it's all about crescendo, crescendo, crescendo. The music is swelling up to a certain point. Oh, by the way, let me just mute this a little bit. This was funny when I saw it after. You see this kid? Just watch him. He's going to hit his head so hard. Bam. He wasn't paying attention. Sorry, kid, but got you on camera. So let's go back. Everything is swelling. And again, we have an effect, brightness and contrast. We're going to have a flash, but also RGB split and focus blur, just to get the focus and zoom in on this one particular kid. Again, just to visually show all of that tension that was building. And now they made it to the very end. They made it to the finish line. Parents are happy. Everyone is excited. And again, we're doing the exact same thing with the kids going up to the podium and getting their medals and their diplomas, and also the statues, the awards for the best male and female in their category. Again, more of a cheesy effect with the light leaks and the focus blur, but this is it. This is for the kids. They're the main attraction here. And this is just a succession of the kids, of shots of the kids that won. And you heard that the song, it was building up, and we had that camera flash transition with the sound effect at the very end, right before we go into the last shot, which is all of the kids and their coaches that won the first 3 places, that they were on the podium. And that last hit over there, this is the logo. So I knew I wanted to end on this shot because this pretty much encapsulates everything. This is what they fought for, and now they are on the podium, the top 3 clubs and their kids. And you see here, we actually have a zoom in on this one with a warp stabilizer. So this was done in camera. I'm zooming in, moving in and closer, closer, closer. And at the very end, the last shot with the logo, this is actually zooming out because we were there, we reached the end, and now it's time to leave and say goodbye. Bye-bye, Nova Autumn Clash 2025. So we're zooming out and we're gonna end the video here. So once again, with the audio, we're building up, and this is it. Bam, goodbye Nova. So this is it. This is how I structured, this is how I thought about, this is how I pretty much put this recap head to head. Is it the best thing out there? No, it is not. But I do think it elicits an emotion. And for me, that's the most important part. Now, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. What do you like? What you didn't like? What you think I could have done better? Is it too long? Yeah, it probably is. I'll give you that. But what are your overall feelings and impressions and reactions to what I just showed? And if you want to see how I actually filmed this competition, you definitely need to watch this video next.